So,
How many pages did I do?
One.
One. Hang on, one.
well, you've been busy.
3,
Wow.
4, 5, 6, 7, 8. I stopped at 7:57, and I started at. Hang on, put my glasses on.
What is all this?
Kerry, I said you gave me the word hedonism, and I didn't know what it was.
Can we put some context in? So, at the end of one of the
I
episodes,
started at 6:05 a.m.
as you were talking about liberalism, I threw in the word hedonism, and then we ran out of time. So you've been mulling in your way that you do thoughts on hedonism. What have you come up with?
Well, according to one definition here, is that it is a doctrine. Now, it's an ism. If we understand capitalism, communism, fascism, materialism, hedonism, what do we understand hedonism by? It's a word that you point at people. That's nasty. It's hedonistic. Now, what do you mean by that? Now, it says here, listen, this is what the book says. The doctrine that pleasure or happiness is the sole or chief good in life. The chief good. That pleasure or happiness is the sole chief or chief good in life. The goodness is
That creates conflict in my head, because I thought the ultimate goal in life was to be happy, and yet I've lived my life believing hedonism was an unhealthy trait. Are you telling me?
No, well, that's right. Our culture uses the word hedonism to point the bone. It's a nasty thing to be hedonistic. But this argues that it's a good thing to seek pleasures, but it's a
You the pleasure for its own sake?
Yes, pleasure and its own reward.
soul good. That's the only thing. It excludes pluralism.
Right.
See? Say service, if a life of service is not hedonistic in the sense that, well, if you serve the people, say Einstein says, service, hang on, what is it? A life of service is the only life worth living, okay?
Right.
That's an only thing. So this is an only, the sole chief of good in life.
Well, hedonism implies putting yourself above others.
That's for you. That's your definition, not what they say. It's here. Look. See down the bottom here. Other synonyms and antonyms: debauchery, enjoyment, Epicureanism, gratification, indulgence, profligate, pleasure, libertarian. See what I mean?
Well,
Debauchery. How?
That got my ears perked up a bit. Debauchery.
Well, it's talking about the doctrine. If you want to be debauched, if you get pleasure out of debauchery, that's your entitlement to be happy.
Has your life been hedonistic, would you say?
No, it's been mechanistic. I said at 38, I've never made a decision out of free will. I'm just a baked bean can of baked beans turned out by a factory that produces citizens that end up teaching and are proper people.
But if you're going to put it in that terminology, your tin of baked beans is slightly dented and the label's peeling off, if you don't mind me saying, because you're far from a factory production.
I saw myself as being mechanized, manufactured. By 38 I said, that's why I got out when I was 42, to do something independent of the acculturation imposed by the bloody British Empire. I started in a state school that said, have a badge to celebrate the British Empire. I love God and my country, I'll honour the flag, I'll serve the Queen till the day I die. That is what it is. head shrink job. I won't say other words. It's called a head shrink.
Right.
And what head shrink did you get? Oh, I didn't get one. I got free thought. I got free action. I'm not a creature of,
Wow.
mechanistic repetition. I was
Well,
just a machine at 38.
Well, I don't know who programmed me, but we've talked about this extensively. How did I get the notion in my head that homosexuality was an abomination and an offence to society and God? How did I get that bit of wisdom implanted in me? How come you didn't?
Well, you find your answer. I can't tell you. How did you get it?
Well, I think it was the culture that was swirling around Australia in the early 60s. I don't think there was one source. I think it was coming from all directions, apart from my parents.
Early 60s, Sherry, a child in a cot doesn't know the word homosexuality. At 15, what you were 15 in 85? No,
Yeah.
75.
Yeah, well, that's...
Well, the revolution was happening. Dear God, you still had your earphones down. Oh, nasty, nasty. The Beatles were happening. Oh, dear God. So you still clouded, something kept the information out that was okay to be gay. Get on with it. Come out, come out. Gay pride was, they started, oh, dear God. Now you're still telling me something blocked your capacity to think freely.
It wasn't my parents, I'll say that. They didn't... I've never heard them talk in that way, but I'm sure they probably had the same notions in the back of their minds that hedonistic lifestyles in that sense were to be avoided and were destructive. And yet you didn't seem to have that restriction put on you.
I told you, the restrictions I had were polite, just don't be impolite and don't fail exams.
Right.
Nothing to do with the moral, police.
Right.
You had a sense of morality that I didn't get. I didn't get that sense of... see, it says here a doctrine that says pleasure or happiness is the sole chief in good in life. You're entitled to have it, but our culture uses the word as a derogative term. Because you've got to then decide what is pleasurable, what is acceptable pleasure and what is unacceptable pleasure. And that's what Bill Clinton says, Did he redefine sex in America? Because he said, I did not have sexual relations with that woman. Then he turns around, he did have sex. Did he say that, did he say that the missionary position is not the only position in which you can have a sex America? Is that Christian country still lying in the missionary position and thinking of God when they conceive a baby? I don't know what they think, those people over there. They don't like the blacks the way they do it. The whiteys, any rate.
Right. Well, we got to, think about that comedian from Ireland, Panty Bliss.
Yeah.
She said it was impossible to grow up in that society and not be homophobic, to not be exposed to homophobia and racism and all those isms. But you didn't seem to be affected by any of that. I just don't get it.
Well, when you live a life in an interrogative, and your parents say, look, they're your choices. Now you make up your mind, but you've got to realise you have to live with the consequences, right? Choice involves consequences, so off you go. If you have roller skates and you fall over and break your knee, that'll be a consequence. But you're entitled to make it a sort, yeah, I will have roller skates, thank you. If I break my knee, I'll sort it out then. Oh, don't go and break your knee. What will people say? Oh, my God, the neighbours. Don't listen to the neighbours. Oh, listen to the neighbours. Oh, don't listen to the neighbours. Oh, do listen to the neighbours. Oh, don't listen to the neighbours. Now, what else do I do today? Okay. Did that. Then I went to Herbert Marcuse, right? He is a, now this is here. His Marxist scholarship inspired many radical intellectuals and political activists in the 1960s and 1970s. Now, who in Australia knows of Herbert Marcuse?
Is he a Frenchman?
He's a German Jew who lived in Germany before he went to America and went back to Germany to live.
Oh, is he the filmmaker?
No, that's Fassbinder.
Right.
See, this is when you become privileged to have time to be an academic and intellectually licentious, shall we say, an intellectual vagabond, wandering around the world finding, Well, it's interesting. One of the people that influenced him was this bloke. Hang on, where's the look? Here it is. Oh shit! Oh my God! There it is. Dear God! This. Now you show things on your television.
Sure.
Look at that. Legitimation crisis.
Ah.
What is legitimate hedonism? Or is hedonism ipso facto illegitimate?
Ah.
If it says it's just a doctrine of the pursuit of pleasure or happiness, this is what the debate is about, A good Christian is a Protestant or a Catholic, is a Jewish or Christian. Anyway, he goes down here. See, so he was unpopular. His best known works are Eros and Civilization, right? Do you have pleasure or do you have law and order? Then you go through blah blah blah. Da 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 da. This is he regarded this is what Marcuse. He regarded the realization of man's erotic nature as the true liberation of humanity. Get that? The realization of man's erotic nature, not intellectual capacity, erotic nature, darling, i.e. fiddle and diddle.
Everyone gets horny.
That's at 6:35 a.m. I wrote that this morning. But you'll see, he rejected, he criticised capitalism. Hang on, it's one-dimensional man. He was in his written works, he criticised capitalism, modern technology, Soviet communism, and popular culture as, right, social control. Now, what's social control? Social control is a concept within the disciplines of social sciences. Social control is described as a certain set of values and standards in society that keep individuals bound to conventional standards. Now, what bound you to the conventional standard that homosexuality was? What were the chains that were around you, sweetheart? Bound up in. Was you in S&M? A child of S&M, bound in bondage.
And that came later, but I think it was the fear of rejection from society, from being publicly derided, or if you like, stoned in the public square by an angry mob.
Yes, well, that indeed. The police I told you, the police used to get queens and poofters off Fitzroy Street, throw them in the car, take them back to the St Kilda police station, bash the shit out of some of them, and don't touch the others, so that there was no continuity in the story, and throw them back on the street and tell your friends, if you do behave like that, if you're poofters, you'll get a bashing.
Tell us about that. She was a cross-dresser or something you saw walking along Beaconsfield Parade.
Oh, gee, summer.
Yeah, what happened to that?
Well, she said, just watch me go, because they're following me, they've been in the car all the way from St Kilda, but they haven't touched me yet, and I'm going to Port Melbourne, just follow me.
What was she wearing?
Oh, satin bathers.
Brilliant.
when you're not supposed to wear satin bathers on the beach because it had no skirt.
So why didn't they jump her?
Because she had people watching. She didn't have what's that stuff you have around on the roofs now?
Yeah, CCTV.
Yeah, that. So she rallied the police, rallied the people sunbathing all the way along the
But
beach.
wasn't she breaking the law?
No. In her words, she wasn't.
Right.
What was she doing? She was
Well, she's
walking
dressed
along.
as a woman.
No, I don't know. I don't know that she was wearing a brassiere. I can't remember that.
Okay.
She's very flamboyant.
Right.
Yes. So anyway, certain that bind people to conventional standards, and so that's why he. Hang on, see him in his book. He wrote in 1969 an essay on liberation. See now, he's telling America you're not liberated. If he's saying he studies in ideology of advanced institutional society, that's one-dimensional man. Now see, the ideology of advancing. Okay, let's take a look at Labor Day. It was March, and it used to be Irish and Protestants, Freemasons, orange and green men, and it was about the the dignity of the trade union movement. Won the 8-hour day in 1888. So what's that? We don't want to have that afterward. We've got to be peaceful people, you know. As we're in progress now, progress. Let's change the celebration of the Union tradition to Mumba. Let's all get together and have fun when the birds jump in the Yarra. The Birdman in the Yarra.
Yeah.
Who remembers the trade union movement? No one. See, it says here, what social control. Oh, here it is. One-dimensional man in society that was, hang on. Herbert Marcuse criticised the capitalist society, right? We live in a capitalist society. America's capitalist, one-dimensional society that was largely drugged by various false and pseudo interests. False and pseudo interests. Now, what's coming up next? Oh, it's St. Valentine's Day. Drug. Let's have another drug. We've just had Australia Day, drug. We had New Year's Day, drug. We had Christmas Day, drug. We had Melbourne Cup Day, drug. What else do you have? AFL football final, drug. We have the cricket on Boxing Day, drug. We're drugged the whole time. And we just go to work and pay mortgages and breed babies and say, we need childcare to help. We're not making decisions for ourselves, we're just machines in Metropolis.
Right.
That's what he said. He was an enemy of the American people, although he'd worked for the earlier bits of CIA. When he got out of Germany in 1933 because of the Nazis and went to America, he was employed by the intelligence agency, and he wrote, but then because he started saying these things, see, 1969, an essay on liberation. Well, maybe the women, burn a bra, had read it and burnt their bras. I've never heard of that essay. But he also says, the capitalist society doesn't address alienation. And what are the Aborigines doing at the moment? They're alienated. They want a voice into their own country to be heard.
Was he a Marxist?
Who?
Was he a Marxist?
Well, he was influenced. Well, see, if you read Eros and hang on a second, 7 pages of homework, darling. Oh, here's the bloody phone now.